You're watching the Movie Dogs. We bark about the movies and nothing but the movies. Welcome to the Doghouse. We take a bite out of the movies. Subscribe to the Movie Dogs and become part of our film-loving community. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell for updates. See you in the next review.
Please welcome your host, William Baxter.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Movie Dog Show. All right, my voice sounds a little bit different. I am, at this time, it's late February, am recovering from the flu, and a few other little ailments that came along with it. So I am on the mends, and I'm hanging in there, and I'm bringing you movie facts and movie memories. Tonight we are going to be talking about 1990s classic Dick Tracy, produced, directed, and starring the legendary actor Warren Beatty. It is filled with an amazing all-star cast. I think almost every actor in Hollywood was working on this production back in '89, all the way up to the release of this film. This is it's actually a pleasant film. I remember watching the old 60 cartoons and reruns, reading a few of the comic strips. Was never really familiar with Dick Tracy, but this was Disney's answer the following year to Warner Brothers' '89 Batman film, directed by Tim Burton. The score itself was also composed by Danny Elfman, who did Batman. and Batman Returns. So this film was it was nominated for Oscars, I think 7 Oscars. I think it won 2 or 3. This is one of the best shot films that you'll ever see come out of the 1990s, folks. The film itself had been in development since the mid 80s. It had gone through a bunch of directors, Steven Spielberg, I think Ron Howard. It went a lot of actors, of course, vying for the role or considered for the role. But Warren Beatty was dead set. I mean, he was a big fan of this comic strip, and he got the rights to make the movie, and he was determined to, he was going to do it on his own terms, and you can never take away his ability to be a filmmaker. He is a great director. So Warren Beatty brought it to, shopped it around. A few people, a couple of studios, they took it down, shot it down because of what they thought would be the cost. But he took it to Disney, and Disney, they were hungry for that, that comic book money, even by the early 90s, and of course, 20-some years later, they'd end up buying Marvel Comics. But, I recommend this movie. I mean, you've got an amazing cast, as I said. It's literally, you can look at this movie as the greatest hits of Dick Tracy. It's not really formulated on any certain story arcs or anything like that. I mean, I don't really, because the comic strips were a constant. I think they were just like a story of the week type of thing. I don't think there was a mythology really going around for any of the comics to kind of work on or anything like that. I mean, there was some serials that they had, like 4 serials from the Republic Pictures, and then I know there were a couple movies, and I believe that there was an attempt for a live action TV show in the 50s or 60s. And of course, as I mentioned, the animated series. But the merchandising, though, for Dick Tracy, you'd have to say was just, right there equal to the Batman the year prior. I mean, it was everywhere. You just, you couldn't escape it. Even though the Playmate, they had action figures, and, even though I had a few of those Playmate action figures, they weren't really the coolest looking things. They're very cartoonish. Now, to get to the cast at hand, I mean, again, Warren Beatty, you got Madonna, you got a great characters actors. You've got Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, you got James Caan, you got James Tolkien, you got who else did they had? They had so many people. They had Paul Sorvino. They were just, there were so many great actors, character actors that were involved in this. And speaking of Madonna, I mean, this was going to be a Disney picture, but the racy scenes and everything forced Disney to move it over to their Touchstone division, and it just. It worked, though. I mean, the violence wasn't too bad, but it was still violent enough, I think, that Disney couldn't really market it more for kids. It had to really be, a little careful, because, that Disney brand was still, gold, and, they that's why Touchstone Pictures was created, so they can do more adult-themed oriented. But Dick Tracy, though, could still, like Batman, could still target those kids at the same time. But again, I mean, I saw this movie on opening night, and it was a large crowd, and the movie did very well. And again, I mean, you had like a great all-star cast and this huge ensemble. I mean, again, to mention some parts of the cast, Dick Van Dyke was in this movie, and I think Warren Beatty ended up using every character, which I think also kind of hurt, making a sequel, But at the same time, I mean, I would have been happy if they had never made it. It still would have been cool, but I think that this is one of those movies that really didn't need a sequel, because it was one of those rare films that were just, it was perfect. It wasn't 100%. It had its moments. It's very cartoonish in its way. It kind of reminds me of what um, Sin City, you know, 20 years later, would be. It was very close to the comic book. When with the makeup, with the characters and all, they all resembled what they looked like in the comic strips. Now, I can't remember if he got it nominated or not. I believe he did, but Al Pacino's performance as Big Boy Caprice, oh my God, he stole the show. He was eating up scenery like it was chocolate. It was amazing what he did. It was amazing. I loved every scene with Al Pacino in it as Big Boy. And this was, his comeback, around his comeback era, I think not too long after or before, he just won for Scent of a Woman. And again, I mean, you just, you put him in this makeup and he got lost and he was his character. And then, the tension between him and Madonna as, with Breathless Mahoney, and, it really, it just worked. They had great chemistry of of this rival between, or this bitterness towards each other, and then you got Madonna herself. She did a really great job. She acted. I mean, she played this kind of a damsel, or seductive femme fatale, but she was trying to be good at the same time, and she was in love with Dick Tracy. You wouldn't say she was infatuated, but she fell in love with Dick Tracy because she knew this was a strong man, an honest man, something she really probably never knew a good portion of her life about. Excuse me. But again, on top of that, she came out with, on top of Danny Elfman's score for this, you also got a great companion album called I Am Breathless, which, was some songs that was composed for her to sing in this movie. But that again, she did great. I mean, I think she even got an Oscar win for, one of her songs with Danny Elfman. I mean, the choreography, I mean, everything just worked. As I said, Madonna, she played a seductress entertainer, basically what she was at the time. And of course, I guess it also helped that she was stooping the boss. She was, started dating Warren Beatty during production. And, Warren Beatty, he was known to, you know, you know, pardon the expression, more ass than a toilet seat, and one of Hollywood's most eligible bachelors. I guess why not? Of course, a couple years later, he ended up getting the would-be Catwoman in Annette Bening, who would have been Catwoman in Batman Returns, got her pregnant, and they've been together still to this day. But it took the Catwoman to tame the dick, if you know what I mean. Anyway, but I'm veering off track. I'm sorry, folks. But anyway, but again, a great album, which also, I believe the album had Vogue on it, and just a lot of great, memorable songs that Madonna did. And she went on what became her Blonde Ambition tour because of the result of Dick Tracy and playing Breathless Mahoney and that album, and she went on this whirlwind crazy tour that also got documented in another movie called Truth and Dare. As I said, the stars were aligning for everyone, and it was just, this movie just worked, and I love this movie. And I hate the fact that Disney just gave us a bare bones DVD and I believe Blu-ray release. I mean, there's no special features. There's never anything. I mean, behind the scenes of this, I saw on Showtime, or I believe it was Showtime or Disney at the time, or one of those things, deserved its praises and everything, and the behind the scenes to show how it was that this film got made, and the hard work that the cast and the crew went through when it came to the makeup and the production. And there's only 5 primary colors, if I'm not mistaken, in this film. Yet you're only going to see that's yellow, red, green, blue, and orange. I do believe like black. You don't. Those are the only colors. You don't see any other type of color variations except for the primary color. Those colors that you see everybody wear in the film, and that's it. I just can't remember at the moment, how many colors it is at the moment. I'm getting over being sick and my brain's still foggy, but I was impressed how they were able to, maintain that continuity as well and everything. That big rule is that, that's what Warren Beatty wanted. And of course, just, everything felt like a noir and a comic book caper, all, pulp comic and all that, all rolled up in one. And it worked so well. I was impressed. Now, I'm sure you're asking, well, if this movie was such a big success, then why didn't they make a sequel? Well, Warren Beatty wanted to, and I'm sure at the time Warner Brothers did as well, but Tribune Entertainment, which is a newspaper, the Tribune up in Chicago, owns the underlying rights to Dick Tracy, the character. And they were wanting to do their thing with it, even though, they had somebody basically do all the heavy work for them in Warren Beatty. They were wanting to try to make a TV show, to capitalize off this. And Warren Beatty's like, no, I own the rights there. You can't do nothing. I think he owned the television rights as well. If he was smart, he got the movie and television rights to do that. They would have been smart to just made an animated show. They probably would have been able to save themselves on that when it comes to the lawsuit. But the lawsuits that pending and everything lingered for years, which of course prevented him to ever make a movie. And Disney had, decided, well, we don't want no part of this. But the lawsuits favored in Warren Beatty's favor, and there is these little documentaries, like mini documentaries that Warren Beatty did make in order to appease those rights issues, when they were coming up, and there was nothing they can do about it. You make a movie or you make something with the character, it's old practice. They've done it with, like, for example, the Fantastic Four back in the 90s. Roger Corman made one just to help the company to keep the rights. It is a standard practice, and of course Warren Beatty did it again a few years later, with Leonard Maltin on both of them. Those who know who Leonard Maltin, he's a film historian, film critic. Where Warren Beatty's just talking as himself, and then also talking with Dick Tracy, like they're conversing with each other. You got to see him. It's on YouTube. You got to check him out. It's weird in a way, but again, you have to admire, the fact that the man's trying to keep the rights to this damn property. But again, the character itself, I believe now is public domain, so it doesn't really matter. But again, it would have been nice to have seen what Warren Beatty would have made, a trilogy or some type of series of films. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if he did something with a TV show or something, But I think now Tribune Entertainment's like bankrupt, and they don't really have control of the character, so he can do whatever he wants with it. So I think that Warren Beatty, especially when it comes to streaming services now, I think Warren Beatty can really needs to get on the ball. The guy is 80-something years old. He ain't got much time left. And I really think that, he really should do something with this character because it's a great character, and great characters and period all over. So I really think that he should. But again, when it comes, especially today's technology and whatever you can do with CGI and makeup and FX, special effects, and it's just the world is his oyster. When it comes to making a great world of in Dick Tracy's universe. But again, if you haven't seen Dick Tracy 1990, God, please do. You're missing out on a great film. Great performances, great characters, great action, and there's a really great action piece. I'm going to, before I get off here real quick, of Dick Tracy with his Tommy gun shooting up all the bad guys, and stuff is blown up behind him and stuff. It is amazing, and he did it himself. Not one stunt man, stood in for Warren Beatty at that moment, and they were dangerous stunts. But it is a really visually one of the coolest comic book film scenes ever put on celluloid, folks, and you really got to check it out, as you see here. But enough of my mindless chatter. What are your opinion? Tell me on the comment section below. Have you seen Dick Tracy? What is your favorite part? What did you think of the film? If you haven't, folks, do check it out. Highly, highly recommend. All right, folks. Well, that's all the time I got here on the Movie Dawgs Show. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Let's get us up there to 1,000 subscribers this year, folks. Year 5, it's kicking off great. Everything's doing. This has been a really great year, and I owe it all to you, folks. All right, folks. That's all the time I got. Again, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Please keep on watching. Bye.
Hey, like and subscribe. Be sure to check out more of the content on the Movie Dawgs channel. All the reviews and cool remarks and cool guests like me, Josh Church, the owner of River Monster Comics. We are in Denellen, Florida, so if you're ever in the area, come by and check out the shop. Get some cool nerd stuff, comics, pops, toys, whatever. And swing by and just have some cool conversations about movies and all things pop culture. We appreciate you. See you soon.